Welcome back to another episode of the All It Takes No Waste podcast. I'm Alex, and that's Christian, and we are back with our last episode of 2022. Also, our last baseball episode of 2022, but just last episode for the All It Takes Swift No podcast in general for this year. And it's been a really good year, to be honest. We've really enjoyed this, and we hope y'all have enjoyed listening to us too. And we look to continue to bring a lot more content to y'all in 2023. We have some ideas that we are looking to implant, and hopefully they'll get rolling here at the beginning of the new year. But before we get started, make sure y'all like, make sure y'all subscribe, and make sure y'all turn on notifications to know that when we post some new content.
Yeah, and for this week's baseball episode, we're basically just doing a continuation of last week. This free agency slash offseason in general has just been insane. So we've got a few more names, a few more signings to go over, a few new ones that popped up since we dropped last week. So updated opinions. I'm still excited. That's all. Let's get into it. To get things started off here, we've got one team that's definitely going to be mentioned again in this video, but a nice little move from the Atlanta Braves. You guys picked up Joe Jimenez from the Tigers. You guys traded Justin Henry Malloy and left-handed pitcher Jake Higginbottom. What's your opinion on that, Alex?
So the prospects, I'm not really too worried about getting rid of. Third base is locked down for 12 years, as we all saw that last year. And Jake Higginbotham,
Botham,
never,
sorry.
never really even heard of him in our farm system. So I like the guy that we got though, Joe Jimenez. He's been in the league for a couple years now. Hasn't been the best reliever, but has kind of figured it out the past 2 years. And I think this guy is just another solid addition to our already really good bullpen. Probably won't step into that setup spot. I think he'll be the sixth inning guy. Minter's kind of got that shit locked up at it's a setup position, and Rafael Iglesias. Who am I happy he is our closer now? Goodbye, Kenley Jansen, and we'll get into him a little later. But I mean that's kind of really my thoughts. I mean, there's not too really much on this. I mean, it's really just a solid move that Alex Anthopoulos made, and he's made some good ones this offseason, but also didn't sign someone who I really wanted back, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah, I don't blame you. My opinion, yeah, this is just a nice little move for your Braves. Like you said, add some more depth to that bullpen. That's really all I see from it. But another bullpen arm that was in the news. You had Robert Suarez for the San Diego Padres getting locked up for 5 years, $46 million. Impact player for these guys, to be honest, especially this past postseason. I think this is a real solid move for San Diego because this is a good deal, if you ask me. It's really not that much per year. And if he could continue to produce like that you're getting that for this much money, I think that could be real solid. But we would just have to wait and see how it plays out because he is still unproven at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is a rookie. They extended him literally, I think, a few days after the World Series ended. This is one of those early signings. Some of these signings did not happen recently in the past week. Some of these happened way back in November. So we just wanted to go over them. But I actually really like this guy. I liked what I saw from him this postseason. He really, really shined for the Padres this postseason. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he will be. This is a pretty team-friendly deal, to be honest. I mean, it's really not that much. It's less than $10 million a year. So, I mean, Padres, they're just adding names this entire postseason. And
Off season.
and another guy they actually added recently, I think it was either today or yesterday, was Seth Lugo. So, I mean, that's just another solid name to add to a really good bullpen.
Yeah, Mets guy. I'm sure the Mets don't miss him, to be honest. But yeah, this is a really good move for San Diego, who wants to stay in the mix after a NLCS appearance. Outside of that, let's see if San Diego's got some more moves to make. But
Yeah,
the
you
defending
man, stay out of my fucking DMs, dude. I don't know why I pissed y'all off so much, but I mean, I literally said y'all aren't making the playoffs next year. That's all I said. So, I mean, cry me a river.
They just gotta wait and see. Stop jumping the gun because it's very possible that the Padres can miss the playoffs. They've collapsed a couple of times, so please check yourselves, fans. One NLCS does not make you
Relevant.
the shit. Yeah, that's really it. But for a team that is the shit right now, that can say they're the shit, the Houston Astros signed right-handed pitcher Rafael Montero to a 3-year deal. This is another solid move for Houston. Houston, they know what to do. Honestly, this is just adding some more depth to an already stacked team. Not sure how much he's gonna be of like a positive impact. Not saying that he's a negative one, but they've already got damn near all they need, in my opinion. But this is just another solid signing.
Yeah, really good signing. Montero hadn't been the best before he came to Houston. Very, very good year, and I mean, this is a really good deal for them. Very friendly. So, I mean, there's really not too much more to say about this than Houston's just doing everything right. They're going to be a problem again next season, and you can see at the bottom of the screen right there, Michael Brantley is back on a 1-year, $12 million deal. So I think that's really big for Houston too. That's a good guy for the clubhouse. So both of those signings really good. Montero, solid bullpen piece, and just to a really good bullpen.
Yeah, when Houston loses to the Yankees in the 2023 postseason, we're gonna look back and say, yeah, this was a good signing for the Astros, but they're just not the Yankees. Just kidding. They're the defending champions. Sorry, Jeremy. No, I'm kidding. But a team that I'm loving. The headlines
You're
that
wrong for this.
I'm loving the headlines that I'm seeing for this team. The Boston Red Sox, they signed Japanese player Masataka Yoshida. Yeah, I got that right. To a 5-year, $90 million deal. I have my thoughts on this signing because Alex definitely informed me a little about this guy's play style. And from what I've heard, overpaid. Overpaid. The Red Sox overpaying somebody. Like, they don't do it often, but when they do, they
The
usually
wrong
screw it.
players.
Yeah. Alex told me that this guy is a very high contact guy. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't bring any pop to the table, really. In today's game of baseball, not saying that that's the end all be all, but it's more of a plus at this point in time than contact really is.
He's gonna get on base a lot. That's all I'm gonna say. Very high OBP, got a good eye. Won't strike out a lot. The thing that people really were going crazy about this guy is his bat to ball. It's really good. Like I said, doesn't strike out a lot. He's gonna make you get him out. So, I just 90 million for this guy is way too much. If they could have been given this extra money to someone like Xander Bogaerts or Rafael Devers. I'm sorry, Boston fans, that I said that, but I mean,
Keep going.
y'all should have given some extra money to them instead of this guy because, I mean, I'm not really too familiar with him other than what everything we've said. Never really seen him play, but I mean, this could be a good signing for Boston, could not. We'll have to find out, but I mean, I just think 90 million is way too much for this guy. I actually saw a bunch of reporters say that they expected him to get around 50 million. So 40 million, that's a lot of money, and I think that could be a one more year you could have added on to Xander Bogaerts.
Hmm. Man, the bidding wars must have gone crazy then if they went from 50 to 90. So, yeah, hopefully this works out for the Red Sox. Just kidding, hopefully not. But speaking of the Red Sox, their rival who aren't really rivals with them this offseason because they're doing their thing. My New York Yankees, we got the Riz God back. Anthony Rizzo. We got him on a 2-year deal. I think that's an appropriate signing, to be honest. Rizzo is at the tail end of his career, to be honest, still producing. So I feel like we should keep him on board for sure until that production completely falls off. And even then, Rizzo for the clubhouse is so good. Really, such a team guy. Really friendly. I know he's real close, real tight with Aaron Judge, who, as if you guys didn't know already, we got his ass back. But Rizzo he was probably a factor towards that. And honestly, I think this is a good signing. Not too much to speak on this one.
Yeah, I really like this signing, bringing back Rizzo for y'all. He's not Joey Gallo, so that's definitely
Uh,
that. But I mean, there's not really too much more to say. You said everything basically. He's on the tail end of his career. He's probably gonna be like he has the past couple years, lots of homers, not too high of an average, playing some average defense. Maybe he'll play some DH. We'll see about that. But like you said, great clubhouse guy, and that's probably a big reason why they brought him back because he's probably big for the young guys and just a great guy probably to be around. I'd love to meet Anthony Rizzo, to be honest.
off topic for sure, bro. He just seems like the
Yeah,
chillest
that was
dude.
really off topic, but
No, no, you're good. You're good because that was like Anthony Rizzo. He just seems like a stand-up guy, straight up.
hmm
So I see where you're coming from with
he's been
that.
through a lot too, cancer and
Exactly,
everything. So I mean, great guy probably.
for sure. But another signing, Josh Bell, who was part of that crazy Juan Soto trade, signs with the Cleveland Guardians on a 2-year deal. Another really good signing, in my opinion. I think the Guardians, I definitely underestimated them last year, scared the Yankees a little. And yeah, they're a really solid, scrappy team. And I wouldn't call Josh Bell a scrappy player, but I think that's a plus to their offense for sure. Switch hitting power bat. Can't go wrong with that.
Oh yeah, and I think Josh Bell's looking for a bounce back season too. Last year was not his best season after being an All Star. I think the previous year, he actually had a really really bad season until he got traded to the Padres. Was actually batting I think under 200, which was not even close to his standards. But I like this. They're one of the teams who everyone thought wasn't really going to be in the mix last year, and they surprised everyone. So they have a lot of young guys who are solid and up and coming. So this is just another veteran guy to add around that. Probably will be in the middle of that lineup. So expect a lot of RBIs from Josh Bell this upcoming year.
Yeah, I'm really hoping for a bounce back from Josh Bell. Hopefully, he's doing his thing. I like to see Josh Bell doing well. But a guy that I don't really care too much to mention, not because he's like a minor guy or anything, just because I don't like his tenure with the Yankees. Andrew Haney signs with the Texas Rangers. Uh, honestly, it's not a big contract, and I'm gonna still say it. They overpaid him. I don't, I don't think he's like that, and I don't
12
think
and a half a year, dude. Come
for
on.
Andrew Haney, bro. Like, come on, bro. Like,
No,
thank you, Al.
I'm talking about you. That's not that much.
It's not, but it's Andrew Haney. I I I don't think he's
He
good.
had a solid second half last year. He looked really good with the Dodgers in the second half.
I feel it. Okay, you know what? Not an overpay. That's my bias as a Yankees fan coming into play because he was dog shit for us. With
No,
all due respect.
he really was after y'all traded for him when he was on the Angels. But I mean, this is pretty solid signing, especially for
Yeah.
Texas. They've made a lot of signings last year and the year before to get some guys, bringing in Jacob DeGrom to really solidify the top guy in that rotation. But I mean, adding Andrew Haney, if he can pitch like he did at the end of last year, they have Jacob DeGrom, Martin Perez, who had a solid year last year, kind of fell off towards the end. But then you add him, and then you also have John Gray. I mean, that's a solid four. It's not anything to freak out about, but I mean, it's definitely a rotation you can live by.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The Rangers, they definitely have the star power now. It's just a matter of filling it out. Um, not I overreacted, not an overpay, but
I
Andrew Haney
mean, 12 and
passed.
a half million is not too much.
But I feel a certain way about him. You know what, Andrew Haney, get your bread. I'm sorry about that, but I'm not a fan of your tenure with us. That's all I gotta say. Another former Yankee now, Jameson Tyone. He's going to the Chicago Cubs on a 4-year deal.
Another
I
overpay. This
Yeah,
one's an overpay, even
this
though
is an
it's only
overpay.
like not. It's
Even
only a
though,
little over 20 million a year.
yeah, and also I'm a little more fond of Tyone's tenure with the Yankees than Haney, but definitely an overpay. This is a mid to back end of the rotation kind of guy, and yeah, he really didn't do bad for the Yankees. At the same time, it's how much could you really expect out of Tyone at this point of his career? I know he's been through a lot with his arm, and the Cubs are trying to make moves, I guess, but I don't know what this is going to pan out to. Maybe they're going to finish 7 games behind the Cardinals. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually less than 20 a year. I don't know why I said it was more. My math is very off right now, but I still
Math
think
is
that
overrated.
yeah, it is. I don't like it. Never have. That's why I was a journalism major in college. Stayed far away from math, but
Feel it.
I still think this is an overpay, not because of the money, but just the years. I mean, this is a guy who I figured would sign a 2-year deal with
Mhm.
someone. I guess the Cubs are just trying to fill their roster with above average people, or I wouldn't even say above average, just average guys. It's not really taking a shot at someone I'm talking about later, but it kind of is. Um, but this is a pretty good signing, I guess. I mean, the Chicago Cubs really, I mean, they're not relevant in my eyes. Probably won't be for a couple more years.
Or until 3026 when they break the
Probably
second curse.
more than likely will be that long.
Yeah. For the Cubs of the NL East. I'm kidding. That was an unnecessary shot.
It
Sorry,
wasn't.
Mets.
No, it wasn't.
But uh they made a bad move right here, in my opinion. Jose Quintana. I'm not a fan of him. I don't think he produces. I remember him being with the Cubs for a decent amount of time, and he was just there. He was just there. Like I don't have too much to say about this guy other than he's probably gonna hurt the Mets at some point this season in a crucial moment when Aaron Judge hits a home run off him in the Subway Series. Just kidding, but I don't like this move for the Mets, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I really don't like it either. I mean, a bunch of these teams in the East, the top teams, have a bunch of really good right-handed hitters. So I do not know how this is gonna play out for them. And even the lefties that are in some of these lineups, like Bryce Harper, still hit lefties pretty good. But I'm happy about this signing because Braves absolutely mash left-handed pitching. So maybe Austin Riley will hit about, I don't know, 8 homers off of him this year. I would love that. But I mean, and Jose Quintana's been a solid pitcher his entire career. After he got traded to the St. Louis Cardinals last year, he actually looked pretty good, not gonna lie. But he's just never really been one of those guys who I was like, oh yeah, that's who I want my team to sign. It's 2-year 26, right around his range, 13 million a year. It's right around it. But this isn't a guy who really pops out to me.
Yeah, for sure. I know I said I don't think he's good. Serviceable, I'll say that. So maybe it'll work out for the Mets. I'm not feeling it though. But to bring up the Red Sox again, this time I'm not talking too much shit. And this isn't a bad signing, in my opinion. They picked up Kenley Jansen, one of the most prolific closers of the past few years. In the past couple of years, it hasn't been the same, but still very serviceable, in my opinion. He did okay for your Braves last year, even though some moments weren't ideal. I remember one game against the Phillies towards the end of the regular season.
Yeah, no, don't
Yeah,
bring it up.
it if if Kenley's bringing that to Boston, I love it. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, this could work out well for Boston. Sorry, Boston, but what Alex said about the Cubs earlier, that's kind of how I feel about y'all right now. I'm sure that's how y'all feel about y'all right now.
Nah, I totally feel you on that. And I mean, I do like this signing for them. They've done a pretty good job signing some bullpen pieces this offseason. They signed Chris Martin to a deal to this offseason. It's 1 year, a couple million, but I mean, Chris Martin hasn't been the best pitcher since he left the Braves. So see how that really works out for them. But I mean, Kenley Jansen is one of the best closers in the history of baseball. Could really boost his stock even more with that, with it being on a team like Boston. If they somehow can figure out how to make the playoffs this year, because it's not looking like that's going to happen. But this is a really good deal for him. I think he signed a 1-year, $18 million deal with us. So this is pretty much the same thing,
Mhm.
2 million less. But I do like this signing for Boston. They're going to have a solid bullpen this year. It's just that can that offense score?
No. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. But to bring my team back up again, This move has got me like
Solid
I'm
move.
I'm so excited for 2023. We picked up one of the best pitchers on the market in Carlos Rodón. Signed him for 6 years, $162 million. First, before I get into it, don't think it's an overpay. He's an elite pitcher, to be honest with you. And honestly, I feel like some teams would have given him more, but he's with us, and this solidifies our rotation so much. Yeah, Garrett Cole's our ace, if you want to say that. If you don't want to say that, Carlos Rodon's our ace. What's wrong with that? I have no issue with either of those statements. And this is just, it's really good for the Yankees. Now, as solidified as we are, in my opinion, let's not choke. Carlos Rodon, don't do what we did last year. Bring a different energy, please. I'm just really happy about this move, though.
I'm really happy to see Carlos Rodón get a big deal like this. This is a guy who I remember watching pitching in college. If I remember right, he went to NC State, and they
Mhm.
they were really good. And I remember him pitching there, and it's kind of where I started to notice him. Then he got drafted by Chicago, and he struggled his first couple years in the big leagues. If you would have told me 3 years ago that Carlos Rendon would be getting a 6-year, $162 million deal, I would have said you are freaking crazy, because he was not pitching like this until recently, really. His last year with the White Sox looked really good. And then last year with the Giants, he was probably borderline top 5 pitcher in all of baseball last year, top 10 pitcher, definitely. But this is definitely a guy who I know that you are super excited about getting. I honestly wasn't expecting the Yankees to sign him. I didn't even know they were on the radar until like a day or two before this happened. But in my opinion, this solidifies y'all as the best rotation in all of baseball. Y'all legitimately have 4, maybe even 5 number 1 starters on your team. You have, or on your rotation. It's Garrett Cole, Carlos Rendon, Nestor Cortez, Luis Severino, and Frankie Montas. Now, Frankie
Yeah.
Montas, he hopefully he will pan out, but I mean, he was the ace for the Oakland Athletics. I mean, that's not saying much, but I mean, Frankie Montas was a highly coveted prospect for the past 4 or 5 years.
Why you gotta let off a shot on the Athletics like that? We already know, Alex. Come on, man.
I
I'm
mean,
messing.
hey, I mean, they're pretty bad.
Yeah, but in my opinion, a rotation that went from overrated slash pretty bad to a little better. Just kidding. Nah, they had a solid rotation for sure, but they definitely boosted this. The Toronto Blue Jays picked up Chris Bassett on a 3-year deal, and I don't have too much to say about this move other than it's a good one because Chris Bassett is nasty. His stuff is gross, and another athletics product in the American League East. I know he had a little bit of time with the Mets too between then and now, but not too much to say other than I'm looking forward to seeing how he impacts the Blue Jays, and hopefully the Blue Jays bring some comp this year.
Yeah, this is a really solid signing for the Blue Jays, to be honest. Definitely solidifies their rotation as a top 10 in baseball, in my opinion. Having Alek Manoah coming in third place in the Cy Young last year. Then you have Jose Barrios, who's been pretty good. Kevin Gausman is probably who was supposed to be their ace, but then Alek
Mhm.
Manoah took over, and then you had him. I mean, that's 4 guys who can definitely get you a win every 4 days. Throwing a 5th guy, don't know who it's going to be. Probably going to be that top prospect. I can't think of his name right now.
Uh,
But
I know who you're talking about.
yeah, I can't think of it
Nate
right
Pearson.
now. Nate Pearson, that's exactly who it is. But I mean, that's a solid 5th starter. So um, really good signing for the Blue Jays. I think that makes them a lot more competitive. Definitely the second best team in the AL East behind y'all. So this is going to be a really good rotation fight for y'all next year, because I think 1 through 5 y'all match up pretty well.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm hoping the Blue Jays bring it because I know the Red Sox aren't. I'm sorry, I'm out of pocket. But
No, you're
uh,
not.
speaking of the Red Sox, I'm sure somebody who they miss a good bit. He's signing with the Minnesota Twins, Christian
You're
Vasquez.
taking some shots today. Jesus.
It's all in good fun. It's all in good fun, but I hate the Red Sox. But this is a solid pickup for the Twins, though. I'm not necessarily thinking that the Twins are going to do anything next season, but you mentioned this to me earlier, and I for sure agree. This is a really solid pickup for their pitching rotation. Christian Vasquez is a guy that you really want behind the plate for these guys. He could definitely impact them in multiple ways. I just think he understands calling pitches really well, setting up or working with the pitchers and getting the most out of them. There's definitely those catchers like that. Yeah, there's catchers that can frame well and receive the ball, but to actually boost up the pitcher, there it's not that often that there's a catcher like that. And Vasquez is kind of like that. Even though he's not great with the bat by any means, I think that's where his value really is. So really good signing for Minnesota, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really like this signing for Minnesota. I think, like Christian said, I mean, I said this to him before we even recorded. This is going to boost their pitching staff
Mhm.
tremendously. He's one of the best defensive catchers in all of baseball. It doesn't matter what aspect it is, throwing runners out, blocking pitches, calling pitches, getting pitchers ready for games. So the scouting report, I think, is really a big factor when it comes to him, because this guy, when it comes to baseball, is just extremely smart. So solid signing for them. Like Christian said, the bat isn't the greatest, but as Red Sox fans know, he can come up big in big moments. So, I mean, this guy, yeah, definitely going to be a good signing for them. Don't really see Minnesota doing much next year anyway. So, uh, don't really have too much more to say other than that.
All I gotta say is, Red Sox fans, before you get salty, there was some positivity right there for y'all. So
I'm
we don't
here for
hate,
the
y'all.
positivity.
I'm not, but another move this offseason. I don't know how to feel about this one because I feel like this is a solid ball player that we lost. Andrew Benintendi signs with the Chicago White Sox after a brief tenure with the Yankees. Really solid deal. I think he gets a good amount of money while the White Sox pick up a really solid glove and contact bat. Uh, I don't have too much to say about this other than a good pickup for the White Sox.
Yeah, I like this pickup for them. Makes their outfield defense really, really good out there with Luis Robert. I don't know about who's going to be their left fielder. If it's Eloy Jimenez, you might want to shade over both guys over towards left field. But yeah, there's not really too much more to say about this Andrew Benintendi. Like Carlos Rodón, I said earlier, watched him in college. He went to Arkansas. He was there for their College World Series run, and that's really where I figured about him. And then he kind of just skyrocketed up to the MLB. He was on y'all's teams last year after they got traded from the from the Royals. So I mean, Andrew Benintendi is just a really solid above average player. Very, very good gloves. So I think that's going to help Chicago out a lot. And hopefully the White Sox can be better than last year, because they had very, very high expectations and kind of fell
Disappointed
flat.
for sure. And real quick about Benintendi before we move on. Really good tenure with the Royals, to be honest. I think he did his thing there, which was a reason why we picked him up. And yeah, I think he's got more to look forward to. Hopefully, his time in Chicago is a dub. But sorry, Alex. Speaking of Chicago, I want to let you take this one actually.
Yeah, so Dansby Swanson signs a 7-year, $177 million deal with the Chicago White Sox. And I'm not surprised at all, to be honest. I don't think I said this on video at all, but I still told a couple of my friends this, that he's going to sign with Chicago. All signs are pointing to him signing with Chicago. And as much as I would have loved him be here, it really, really, or I really don't care that he didn't sign with us. He was kind of a late bloomer. To be honest, I didn't want to give him a long-term deal because I don't know how he's going to be in a couple of years. He's been pretty durable the last 2 or 3 seasons, but he had a really bad wrist problem before that. So, I mean, Dansby Swanson was the fourth best shortstop on the market, and to be honest, if you ask me, I think there's a pretty big drop off between number 3 and 4. Those 3 guys ahead of him are elite, elite. Dansby Swanson is not elite. He's pretty good. Got his first All-Star appearance last year, I'm pretty sure, or something like that. But I'm honestly not really too mad about losing him. Great signing for Chicago, to be honest. Honestly, a lot of people probably didn't expect this, but really good signing for them. The reason why I figured he was going to sign there is because he just got married and his wife plays in the professional women's soccer league for the Chicago. So really doesn't surprise me at all. Plus, I really don't know if he wanted to be here anyway. Um, and also after Freddie Freeman whole fiasco last year, they had the same agent. So I
Mm,
definitely knew that this shit was not going to happen.
I feel that. Honestly, it's not the biggest blow, even though you guys did lose a your shortstop. Honestly, he's not one of those irreplaceable kind of guys. Uh, to be honest, outside of last year where he had elite stretches, I know you said he's not an elite player. There was times last year he looked elite,
Hmm.
but outside of last year, the majority of the seasons that he played, he was a below average hitter by the average or the league's average standards. So yeah, like you said, health wise and also consistency wise, I it probably wasn't the best move for the Braves to sign him long term. Um, Chicago, it's a nice pickup for them. They've been making some moves as I mentioned earlier. I just don't know how much it's going to pan out, but I don't I'm not scared for the Braves at all. Like I said, I think he's replaceable for sure. You guys have a couple options to be honest with you. Hopefully Vaughn Grissom pans out. I feel like that's who would be replacing him to start off. I could be wrong, but yeah, and end of a era, I guess. The Dansby era in Atlanta is no more, but when you got the Austin Riley, the Acuna era going on at the same time, yeah.
I will say one thing I will miss though is his defense. He
Mm,
is pretty
elite.
elite at defense and is definitely the best defender out of all those 4 shortstops that I mentioned earlier. Uh, I honestly, everyone's saying Grissom should be the starting shortstop. He came up and he was hot. I just think that's because no one had tape on him or anything.
Hmm.
I don't think it was like a Michael Harris deal because Michael Harris was fine the entire year. Grissom wasn't. Um, but we got 3 guys potentially who could probably go there. Orlando Arcia, who we traded for at the beginning of last year, probably most likely because this dude has proven himself already, was solid with the Brewers. Then you also, like Christian said, Vaughn Grissom. I think he needs to go down to AAA, to be honest, have a little time there because he got called up
Polish
straight from
up.
AA. He got called up straight up from AA, just like Michael Harris. And then there's this guy in AAA right now who I think should be the guy is Braden Shoemake. This guy's really, really good defensively. He's not probably as good as Dansby defensively, but I just think that this guy is a lot better of a person. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. But I think Braden Shoemake is probably should be the guy, but it's more than likely probably going to be Grissom or Arcia.
I feel that, man. Honestly, though, for this to be, I feel like the biggest issue for y'all going into next season, it's not the biggest of deals. I don't think this is a something that would make a team panic, especially the Braves. So, regardless of what happens, regardless of what y'all try out, y'all still, in my opinion, the best team in the NL East. The Phillies making the World Series, that was them getting hot at the right time. Objectively, I still think it's the Braves. But uh, another signing. It's this signing is interesting because it feels like a big one but a small one at the same time. You got JD Martinez going to the Los Angeles Dodgers on a 1 year, $20 million deal. Boston really didn't want to pay this dude. They didn't want to pay. They didn't want to pay nobody. That's what Boston is on. But this is a really solid pickup for the Dodgers. Really solid bat. I would assume that that's what he's going to be mostly used for, since the Dodgers got pieces on pieces. They can move like that. So this is a really nice pickup for the Dodgers. Nice move from for JD too, in my opinion. He's a guy that he's an impact player, and there's not going to be much to impact in Boston this year. So yeah, the Dodgers got it. They picked up a solid player for sure in JD.
Yeah, JD Martinez is back in the NL West. He had a little stint there with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I don't know why I
Mhm.
blanked out there for a second, but yeah, he had a solid tenure there. And his power has kind of dropped off this past year, but I mean his contact was still there. He still had a really high average this year, so I think this is a really good signing for the Dodgers. That power may come back now that he's in a place that's a little warmer year round. So we'll see
True.
how this works out. But I mean, Boston fans must be in shambles, honestly, because I mean, this next guy that they signed, I mean, Justin Turner on a 2-year, $22 million deal. So you're telling me you're going to give Justin Turner $11 million a year, but you're not going to pay JD Martinez $20 million for one? I mean, this is kind of a little head scratcher, to be honest, because first off, they don't really need Justin Turner. I mean, where's Justin Turner going to play? First base, probably. I know
That's what I was thinking.
They designated Eric Hosmer for an assignment yesterday, so he's not with the team anymore. So that's the only place I can see him playing. Because unless I don't want to say it, but they don't get a deal done with a certain person.
Say it. Nah, I'm
Unless they
playing.
don't get a deal done with a certain person, but it's just a real head scratcher to me. Justin Turner's 38 years old too. Wasn't very productive last year. I know he was hurt for a little bit, but if I'm Boston fans, I'm wanting my GM out of there.
Yeah, Boston fans. I would like to sympathize with you, but unfortunately, I'm on the other side of the street. So yeah, keep signing guys like Justin Turner. Yo, you know what? Go ahead and sign. Nah, never mind. I was trying to think of a really bad name, but I'm sure the Boston Red Sox have done enough to shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, to try to compete next year. Yeah, that's what I meant. Just kidding. But honestly, Turner, he was a solid guy in his heyday, but tail end of his career, questionable move, like Alex said. But
Very late bloomer, to be honest. That kind of does it for these signings. There's probably going to be a lot more signings here in the next week or two. Like we said, we are taking off the next week. This is our last baseball episode of the year. Christian, how do you feel?
and honestly, speaking on the season first and the playoffs, amazing experience. So this past season was really great, and I'm just looking forward to next season. It's always fun talking baseball with you, Alex. A couple of knowledgeable guys. I feel like call us out if you feel another type of way, but at the same time, you got to back it up with the facts like we do. So that's going to be coming next year. We're just going to spit some more facts. All takes, no whiffs. All hits, no misses. That's what we do over here.
And that does it for another episode of the All Takes No Ifs podcast, the last episode of 2022. We've had a blast this year, honestly. We did take a little break at the beginning of this year, but we are back in full force. We may take a break here or two or there just to give ourselves a break. But I mean, 2023 is looking like it's going to be a great year for boxing. It looks like it's going to be a great year for baseball. So really looking forward to it, especially since the World Baseball Classic is coming up in March.
Mhm.
Got a lot of players already announced that they're playing. Some of these teams look absolutely gross too, so I'm so looking forward to that. But before we get out of here, make sure y'all subscribe, make sure y'all turn on notifications to know when we post new content. And if y'all want, let us know who your favorite signing has been this offseason. Let us know if you think these shortstops have been getting overpaid, because I definitely think they have been.
Yeah, and you guys can also let us know those thoughts if you want on any of our social media pages. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at ATNW Podcast. If you guys want, you can follow my personal Instagram and Twitter at Christian_S52.
If you want, you can follow mine at AND2215. I want to hear some of y'all's hot takes.
2022, all takes no whiffs. It was a good one, but 2023, Stay tuned. That's all I gotta say. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.